Okay, why don't you walk me through what happened? I've read your complaint and I have it here in front of me, but I just want you to walk me through the details. This was a false arrest, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, just tell me what happened.
Well, let's see. It was probably around 10:30 in the evening. My girlfriend and I were leaving a restaurant. We got off the exit at 285 and South Atlanta Road. There was a three-lane turn when you come up to the intersection. Signal to get into the turning lane. I made the turn. We went through the intersection. Coming upon the third intersection, prior to making that turn, I was pulled over um, by the police officer. I was confused at this point because I'm like, why am I getting pulled over? I signaled. I'm not speeding. I didn't run any lights. So
Well,
pulled over.
I read in your complaint form that he said you turned off the turn signal too quickly.
Yeah, he said something about I turned my turn signal off too quickly because I merged into the far left lane. But that's not possible because my turn signal was on the entire turn. Like I didn't turn my turn signal off until after the turn was completed. So he pulled me over, asked for my license and registration. Went to the car. I guess he ran my license, and he came back to the car and he asked. He said, "Have you been drinking?" I told him I just came from dinner. I had a half of a watered down margarita, and then he asked me if I would be willing to take a roadside breathalyzer.
Okay, what time, sir? What time of day was it when this incident took place?
It was around like 10:30.
Okay, 10:30 p.m.
Mhm.
Okay, and what was the weather and what were the conditions? Was it clear? Was it foggy?
It was clear.
Okay,
It was it was a clear night. It was cool. There was no precipitation or anything.
okay. So he would not have had any trouble seeing your car.
No problem.
Okay, and you did have your turn signal on.
I think the turn signal was on.
Okay, couple of things, and then we're going to continue. Part of what I'm going to be doing today is acting as an expert witness. So I'm going to tell you what I would tell a judge if he were to ask me if I were on the stand. And I'm qualified to do what I'm going to do for you in terms of advising you. I'm an expert witness. I've testified in federal and state court. So I'm going to evaluate this from a police perspective in terms of whether or not it's consistent with national and international standards and whether or not what the police did makes sense based on my experience as a police officer. Okay?
Mhm.
All right.
Okay.
Now, just starting off with the story so far without getting into the actual arrest, I can tell you that this kind of ticket is somewhat troublesome for me because it's the kind of violation that's really almost discretionary entirely, depending on what he was able to see. And it's a rare sort of a charge that you might make for someone who's committing a violation that you want to stop them for. Pulling them over because they turn their turn signal off too quickly is almost unheard of. I never wrote that violation once.
Mhm.
And 10 years of police work. And my dad was a cop 30 years, and I don't recall him ever mentioning to me that he wrote someone a ticket for turning their turn signal off too quickly. If they don't signal at all, if they drive across several lanes and almost strike a few people, then I would say you got a problem. But I haven't heard of that charge being used very often, so that bothers me. The other thing is that we do racial profiling testing all over the country, and in our test, that charge is like one of the number one allegations the police use to stop people for no reason, which is you didn't signal or you were weaving between lanes. I've been stopped for that several times during actual tests. So now let's get to what happened after he pulled you over. You saw the lights. Obviously, you pulled. Did you pull over right away?
I pulled over because he was right behind me, so I was assuming, okay, he must be pulling me over, so let me just get over and see what the problem is, even though I don't think that I've done anything that would require me to be pulled over. So I pulled over, came up to to the vehicle, gave him my license. He went back to his squad car, came back. He asked me about if I had been drinking. I told him that I had just left dinner. and I had like a half of a watered down margarita, as I said, and he asked me if I would be willing to submit to a roadside breathalyzer. I said, sure, I have no problem with that because I know that I'm not under any influence. So he goes and gets the breathalyzer, comes back. I take the breathalyzer. He goes back to the car, and he comes back. He's like, well, step out of the car. I'm like, seriously? You want me to step out of the car? Okay. I step out of the car. He's like, well, I'm going to administer some roadside sobriety tests. And I'm puzzled at this moment because I'm like, seriously, do I really need to take a roadside sobriety test? But I'm not going to cause any problems. And this is like the first time I've ever experienced anything like this. I've never been arrested. I've never been pulled over for driving under the influence of anything.
So do me a favor. At this point, this is a good point. I want to stop here. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, are you a person that has a lot of problems with the police? Have you,
No. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I have no criminal record whatsoever. Other than a couple of possibly minor traffic violations, maybe like a speeding ticket, it's the only thing that I really have ever encountered with the police.
Okay. So anyone who might assume that you came in with an attitude or that you had a problem with the police would be wrong.
It would be very wrong.
Okay.
I respect the police.
And did you cooperate fully with the officer throughout the incident?
I fully cooperated. I asked a couple of questions, and that's pretty much it. But everything else, I complied with whatever he asked me to do.
Okay. All right. So now he's ordering you out of the car. At the time he ordered you out of the car, as best you can recall, you said you had one watered-down drink. Is that right?
I said I had a half of a watered-down drink. Yes.
Okay. Half of a watered-down drink. And what was the drink?
It was a margarita.
Okay. And were you at a restaurant?
Yes.
Okay. If we were to pull the records for what you guys ordered that night, what would we find?
I had a margarita, some water, and an appetizer platter. My girlfriend, she had a burger, a salad, and like a lemonade or something.
Okay.
Like that.
All right. And what was the restaurant?
The restaurant, it was Applebee's off of Cobb Parkway.
Okay. All right. Excuse me, I'm fighting a cold. I apologize. Okay, Applebee's restaurant. All right, and that would be all that would be on the order.
Yeah, that's possibly it. 2 beverages, 2 entrees, maybe 1 appetizer.
Okay. All right. So now, at the time you got out of the car, did you have any symptoms of intoxication that might have alerted the officer? Meaning, did you have a heavy odor of alcohol on your breath or person? Were your eyes bloodshot?
No, not at all. Like I said, it was like the first drink I had all day. I had been at work all day. We just went out to dinner. And I guess, I swallowed like the last little bit of whatever the drink was before I left out of the restaurant.
Okay.
It was mostly water because it just sat there because I really wasn't drinking it. I just drank that little bit. And no, I didn't have any residual alcohol on my breath, I don't think. I don't think my pupils were dilated or anything like that. So I wasn't staggering or anything of that nature.
Okay, so a regular person, if they were to run into you under the same circumstances, having had the same meal and the same amount of alcohol, would look at you and assume what? That you're just normal and that you hadn't had anything to drink?
I'm normal.
Okay.
I hadn't had anything.
Okay, and were you taking any medication?
Other than I took some eye drops and put them in my left eye because I scratched my cornea that day. But other than that, no, I was not on any medication.
Okay. All right. Now go ahead and continue with your story. I'm just going to also advise you that I worked as a DUI officer, and I was asking you questions, and clearly you know some of the symptoms I was looking for. What I was looking for is some justification for what the officer did. Did he see you stagger out of the car? Did he notice a large amount of alcohol in the air after he opened your window? Those kinds of things would give him a grounds to go further. And you're telling me there weren't any grounds to go further, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So continue. He orders you out of the car. Was he polite?
He was polite.